Today, topic I want to talk about gratitude and Thanksgiving, right? So anybody would like to jump in and share what has been happening with them as it relates to the frequency and leveraging the frequency. I'm seeing a lot of things are happening on my end, and just trying to navigate those shifts can be interesting. So I would love to hear some of the feedback from all of you out there. How are you dealing? Because I know sometimes the frequency as it guides you through shifting or transformation can sometimes be a challenge. And we want to go back to the old ways, and sometimes the old ways is not the best of ways that define the best version of ourselves. Richard, how you doing, sir?
It's been very interesting. I get this phone call asking me if I'm interested in selling my house.
Okay.
And I, w- you know, I'm thinking I get letters every day asking me to sell my house. I just throw them in the trash. And for some reason, I said to the woman, I said, well, I don't think I'm interested in selling it, but I might be interested in just finding out what it's worth. She goes, okay. And we had a nice conversation. And so we decided that she was going to come visit me. And my son said to me, he goes, do you know this person? I said, I don't. He says, Dad, I think you should be very concerned. There's a person that called you, and you're pretty vulnerable by yourself. So then I started thinking maybe he was right. Maybe that was poor decision making on my part. And I was trying to think about calling her back and just canceling because we had decided she was going to come visit me on Tuesday. And anyway, so she calls me on Monday and she says, I'm going to be out your direction. Do you have any interest in me coming by today instead of tomorrow? And this is my opportunity to cancel, but that's not what I did. I said, well, if you're going to be out this way, why don't you come over? And I said, but I have to be honest with you. I said to her, I said, I had a conversation with my son. My son said, it's a bad idea. You don't know this person. She goes, who's your son? I said, well, my son, he lives in California. He's an attorney. She goes, he's absolutely right. He says, this is not a good idea for you. As a result, what I was going to do is just knock on the door, not and just stand back. He goes, but your son's right. You are vulnerable. You told me that you were living by yourself and all this stuff. And she says, so I don't have to come see you if you don't want me to. And I said, no, what? Just come over. She comes in. And I kind of told her she's a nurse and this is something she does on the side is flipping houses kind of thing. And her husband is the physician. But the thing is, we really hit it off well. Okay. And so she ends up staying with me for about 2 hours and we had this really extended conversation. She's very intelligent, very articulate. She said, Richard, I don't want you to sell your house. She says, as a matter of fact, I think the best decision you can possibly make is to stay exactly where you are. But she goes, look, is there anything I can do for you? I said, well, here's what I need. I need somebody who can cook for me from from Christmas for the next 3 months because my cook is going out of town. She goes, well, that's something I can do for you too. Because I have a friend that lives about 5 miles away from you that I will introduce to you. I'll bring over to your house and you can see if she's able to provide you for what you need. And so it was like we hit it off so well. So she says she's going to bring her over on Saturday. I feel like, this is meant to happen. Okay. Here was my problem. How was I going to get the food supply? I
Yeah.
didn't. And all of a sudden, this person wants to buy my house, and she turns out to be. I think she's going to end up being a good friend of mine. And I mean, we enjoyed each other's company. I introduced her to the Qi Coils, and
Okay.
well, was having. She's very athletic, and so she had problems with her knee and some problems with her back. And I used the soothing one because that worked well on me. But she mentioned arthritis, and I asked her. I texted her later that evening whether she had much relief, and she said not as much as she thought, as she hoped. What do you recommend in that regard? Because I would like to help. I'm going to see her on Saturday, and
Okay.
what frequency would you try?
Well, yeah, we can talk about that. I think the smooth can work. There's several other frequencies. The right frequency has several pain for arthritis. So look at
Yeah.
the right frequency as well. Because remember, with the update, you can incorporate the right into a playlist. So just type in the pain, and
Yeah.
specifically what type of pain, and then look at the different options out there. But I believe that the rife is more effective on the physical level when we're dealing with symptoms, and then the quantum. Remember, the quantum is always the intentional aspect of ourselves. So if we go into it not believing in work, sometimes the quantum doesn't really manifest the way we desire. It's not that it doesn't work; it's that we're not putting the intention in it, right? So we want to make sure that we look at those different frequencies and see which one is very impactful. And everybody is different, Richard, and you know that because you said one has worked, one has not worked. But there's the consistency of leveraging the technology and seeing what best works. That's why David has a variety. David and his team has a variety of different frequencies. There's not one that solves everybody's problem because it's a deeper level of pain. Sometimes the physical manifestation of pain doesn't stem from just the physical level of distortions that's happening. It could be an emotional distortion. It could be a sometimes psychological distortion, even a higher level, soul at the soul level, which is carbon that needs to be balanced. And that's where the quantum frequency are so impactful because it goes as deep as the higher selves in order to bring balance. I don't know if that answers your question. So I would just create a playlist, and I can go over that with you, Richard. Or you can just go into Rife and select pain, arthritis, and look at some of the frequencies there, and then leverage those frequencies, and then see how it impacts her. That would be my recommendations on that. But Richard, that's a great testimony. And one of the things I was excited about your testimony is that when you're running this technology and you're leveraging this frequency technology, sometimes you're navigated through the darkness, right? And sometimes you'll feel blinded, right? And you feel like you're lost, feel empty. That is good. That's because you're shedding, right? You're transforming, you're shifting. And a lot of times the shift requires detachment. And those detachments sometimes can feel an emotional can have an emotional struggle. So it's important that everybody, as you're going through this experience of this journey, that you don't allow fear to pull you back to an attachment. In this case, Richard was tested, with the idea of fear because Richard background is all about that fear and that fear driving. Now, here's Richard says, well, I know fear exists, but there's something greater beyond the fear. And that's what makes this phenomenal, Richard, in your testimony, because you went forward and you saw exactly what was necessary for you. And I think that's what hold a lot of us back. We are attached to this idea that limits us. The ego sometimes come in and plagues us. Sometimes the emotions come in and plagues us, and it limits us from moving forward. And that's why it's important when people are going through what we call challenges, we tell them to push through. Because on the other side of that struggle is sometimes what they're looking for is the next level of success, right? And that's why it's critical to keep leveraging the technology and keep using the technology, keep finding the frequency that best aligns with you. And don't be looking for easy fix because there's so much more to you than somebody giving you a solution. If anybody on with any technology tell you this is a quick fix that fixes this problem, it is not true. That's why we continue to see the same situation perpetuate. It's a constant feeding of oneself. Because for me, here recently, I've been going through this transformation, and sometimes I feel lost, but I'm attached to the outcome, and I allow my light to continue to guide me. So I feed that light. All right, I run the frequency, I run love, and I run those things that I know will help guide me through this journey. And what I notice is gratitude, and that's something I want to talk about today. Gratitude and appreciation is such a key element in the transformational process. If anybody out there, and if you're looking for a Qi Coil frequency to fix your problem, a quick fix, this is not the workshop for you. I'm gonna be honest. This workshop is all about you transforming you, not a quick fix, because there's so much to you than just trying to react to the symptoms. We see that in the world all the time with drug companies, everybody masking the symptoms, using marketing to actually, entice and sometimes even create fear. That is not what this is about. We want to be genuine about this technology. We want to say this is a transformative technology, but it requires you. It requires your effort. It requires your intention, and it requires your commitment, right? And run those frequencies, leave those frequencies on, leverage those frequencies, focus on your intention. That's where your superpower comes in. You have the power to change. No one can change your life but you can detach from the things, the people, the places that hold you back. Allow the frequency to guide you in your transformational process. And that's one of the biggest struggle with us. We go to these amazing workshops and we hear these amazing people on amazing platform, and then we go home and we feel lost. That's because it did not begin and end with you. So if you're here and you're part of my family, you're part of this community, this is all about you. And that's why I give the space to every one of you to share your testimonial when you your testimony, if you want to so others can see that through that journey and through that process, they're able to transform and others are inspired. So going back to me, having the twins and then having, the death of my mother and so many other stuff was just coming at me sideways. I had to and I had a loss of of an uncle, and then it was a bunch of other issues that were just happening. And what I had to do is sit still. I had to sit still and be grateful for the things that were around me that inspired me. And I went to the twins. I went to my kids and I would look in their eyes and I will just feel this amazing love, right? And I would take that and I'll fuel myself with it, right? And I would just stand still, not reacting to people, places, and things, right? Because when you react, things does not come to you. You allow the frequency to allow you to vibrate, send the resonance out there, and wait for it as you experience life in the now. Life in the now is not to be reactive, to be experienced all aspect of it. And sometimes those challenges, those trials, those tribulations has richness to it. It's inspiring, it's transformative. And sometimes when people going through that, it's easier when they're telling their story. You see, a lot of people write books and make millions on telling the stories of the trial that they didn't want to go through, right? And that's what makes them success. They're successful based on the trials, but when the trial was happening, they didn't want it, right? But the success came after, and that is factual for all of us. The success of the trial is always after. What is it after that you're trying to seek? And this trial is to expand you. So I'm noticing things are shifting in the direction. I'm seeing people, places, and things that are drawn to me that normally and I've been chasing, and I don't have to chase anymore. And that's one of the things this whole process is all about. But then also, what I also I was given a download that says sometimes the people around you that you're closely attached to cannot get you to your destination. And that is critical. Sometimes the friends you hold close to you, sometimes the family members you attach to. So, and when I say attached to, it's not having a relationship with them, it's the negative distortions that you have in your mind about that person, right? The anger or frustration you may have about that person, or the lack that relates to that person. Whatever all those things are that are happening is all in the mind. And your attachment to it is what limits your ability. So sometimes you have to accept what is and learn to detach, change perspective, change how you view people, change how you see family, friends, loved ones, places, and things. When you do that, it allows you to liberate yourself and be able to move forward because the frequency is doing its job, right? It has you vibrating, it's sending out the signals. You are seeing all the evidence of potential. You are getting excited, but you feel stuck, and that stuck is because there's still attachment. So I'm saying that to all of you out there. If you ever feel stuck, you see opportunities, and you say, every time I'm going after these opportunities, I'm missing it. That's because there's some level of attachment that you need to detach from that may limits that connection. Because once you send that vibration out, yeah, with that signal from within yourself, it will bring you the things, the desire of your heart. However, you can't get to it. Sometimes you will perceive it. Sometimes you will actually be able to experience it. But when you perceive it farther away, then you have to ask yourself, what is it that I still need to detach from? And that detachment is just a struggle. And that's why you go back to the frequency and say, how can I get the support to just become neutral, to detach from things and find those frequencies that helps you balance. There's balance frequency. There's that frequency that helps you become equanimous, just accepting life as it is right now, because Right now is just the developmental stages to get to your desired state. So I wanted to share that because it's not just you going through the trials. It's not just you going through the fear. We all go through those things. And don't try to mimic somebody else's life, right? This is again, this is not the workshop where I tell you, do as I do or do as I say. That is not what this workshop. This workshop is here to say, whatever is happening to you is your fault. And it's your fault because I believe in the power that exists within you, that you're beyond imagination, that you are all powerful. And now you have a powerful tool that leverage that, right? You have a tool that allows you to change your vibration, and vibration attracts like a vibration, right? And so you have this means now. Now the question is why we're not achieving those things that we desire. And that's because on some level, you're still attached to all ideas and all belief systems. Now, in previous workshop, we talk about the scalar frequency. We talk about 0 point energy. If you're looking for the technical, there's several workshops that David and others have done that talks about the technical. But I want to talk about the experiential, how you're experiencing this. These frequency actually shed. It doesn't transform. When you get to this to leverage scalar frequency, it comes in and let go of all those attachment that is forcing you to be rigid and within that box. So it begins to just loosen things up for you. Right? It begins to release ideas and definition. And those ideas and definitions sometimes begins with the mind, the body, and the spirit. Once that is balanced, healing, transformation takes place, miracle starts to take place because your natural state is a divine state and is all powerful. It's amazing. It's perfect. It's beautiful, right? But we limit that perfection because we have target all these imperfection and just put it all over ourselves. It reminds me of a homeless man that someone took off the street. He was raggedy and just looking crazy, hair, everything just looking disgusting to the as far as the public is concerned. And then someone took him in and cut his hair, took him and shop for him, put some real expensive clothes on him, and he looked like anybody else that would be, that would be considered a celebrity because he was on that level. That's because that layer on him was defining him, and that's how it is for a lot of us. We got this external layer that we have put on ourselves through things and struggles and trials and people and it just compound on us, and then sometimes it just takes you realizing it's no longer serve you. And then when it no longer serve you, somebody comes along and say, hey, how would you like some help? And you open your heart and open your mind and says, I sure could use some help. Not let the ego say, no, I don't need it, because that still keeps you trapped. You're allowed to leverage. So, for example, Richard's open to change, he's open to being different. Not it's not conscious. I'm sorry, it's not conscious anymore. It's actually unconscious. If Richard was conscious, he would have listened to his son. Richard is unconscious because the vibration in him allowed him to have this knowingness that all is going to be well. And all of his problem that he probably was sitting on and said, well, how am I going to have somebody bring, support this process of me having this food? Sometimes if you try to follow your plan, it's very difficult. You have someone you're comfortable with, you now have to go find someone else, and it's an inconvenience, uncomfortable, and it's a lot of things. But if you allow the frequency, you allow energy to take its course, then you can sit back and a miracle happens where a stranger calls you up talking about a house, convince you to keep your house, then talk about how they can help you with the food. That is not something you can plan. There's no one out there can plan such a strategic manner of manifesting, right? So that's why we have to open our heart. And that's why it's key to make sure love is in the center, because you have to allow love to guide you. And sometimes you'll be hurt through the process. I'm not saying it's not that, but that hurt is because you're still holding on to attachments. That hurt is not because you're trusting. Love exists in everything out there. Love encompasses all. So when you trust love, it doesn't matter who is coming to you. Love guides you through that process. And you're trusting that idea of love to guide you through that process, not the person. Sometimes you don't trust the person. You trust the idea that, something, I'm going to continue with love. I'm going to continue with compassion. I'm going to continue doing the things that I'm doing and trust that the universe, the energy field, God, source, whatever you choose to call it, will make up the difference. And I'm sharing that with my family because enough is enough. It's time for us to transform. It's time for us to let go of the past. So many things are happening right now behind the scene that we are oblivious to. We are in a phase where we, our existence, humanity existence, is up for grab. And when I say it's up for grab, there's so many different energetic entities that is grabbing and reaching for where humanity next level of evolution is going to be, or even humanity demise is going to be. And we need more people to awaken to their divine state, right? Not to the construct of religious indoctrination, not the construct of political indoctrination, not the construct of the educational indoctrination, but just the idea of the divine perfection that exists within all people, within all things, and knowing that perfection exists and wanting to tap into that perfection for existence, right? And so we can evolve in that positive direction, a positive way. And that's why I wish I could pour into everybody's heart that you're all greatness, destined for great things, and move forward in life with that greatness and pass that greatness towards the next generation and let that perpetuate and allow everybody to have a sense of value of themselves. No one is above you, no one is beneath you. We're all here to have an experience. Stop putting people on pedestals, stop seeing people greater than yourself. Celebrity, and there's nothing wrong with this, with the work that comes behind being a celebrity, but at some level it's become distorted, right? Because we lose the value of the self. Well, celebrity walks into a space, what happens to the individuals that's within that space? They're no longer seen. And that's a big problem because from the mouth of a babe sometimes comes the greatest level of wisdom, but we're looking to people with platform that does not have the answer because they're locked within their construct or distortion. So it's important that we feel love, and this technology will help us with that. And now that we have the scale that we can send universal love in any space, anywhere, by just identifying the location and saying, I want to send love to this location. I want to send love to my family. I want to send love to this person. Send love to your enemies. Send love to your patients. Send love to everyone that needs love or light. And so that way we can all evolve to the next level of our greatest evolution. So I'm excited what is happening. I've seen some amazing things happening around the world. So, one of the things I've read here, and I know this is part of my shift. Maybe some of you are on the same path with me. Right? I've always been, you can call it prayer. I said, Father, we need to change this toxic nature of food in this country. The preservative, the additive, it needs to stop. We need to stop the toxic nature of these pharmaceutical drug companies. I'm sick and tired. Like I don't even watch TV because of the commercial. And so the things that's been happening, I was reading one of the articles, and the new president has elected two individuals that have synchronized, that's going to be in the leadership capacity that aligns exactly. That's because that is my reality. That's the reality I've desired. I want a reality where people eat healthy. I want a reality that people walk around healthy. I want a reality that energy healing is an opportunity for everybody to have access to. I want that reality because it gives equity, it gives inclusivity to everyone. And that reality is perfect, it's beautiful. But we have this other distorted reality that says this group or that group, or this person or that person has the idea there to all be also just follow what they do. And it doesn't work because we all have the right to follow our own path, right? So that was exciting for me to see that. So I know that I'm shifting. It's not about who is president or who is not president. That's irrelevant. Is that when you shift, reality will conform to you, specifically to what your desires are. And sometimes letting go of people, places, and things is something you need. And don't feel sad when you lose individuals. Don't feel, you might feel the pain here and there because you miss, and that is the ego. But learn to understand that if that person de-animated from physical reality, they're infinite. I mean, everybody's infinite. And hold to that truth. They're infinite, they went on, they're continuing, they perpetuate. Energy cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed. They too cannot be created, they cannot be destroyed. They're just shifting from one vehicle to another. So I wish them well. Now, what about my life? What about this now? What do I do about this now? And then the same thing with losing significant others or other friends that may not be working for you. Whatever that is, learn to let go. And then here's the key element to this, right? When you think about them, feed the vibration that you are into your thoughts. If you perceive yourself as a loving person, because I've heard that, I'm a loving person. And now sometimes we say you're a loving lie, right? Because the manifestation of your works does not show your words, right? Because your action needs to live the testimony of your words, right? And so in joking fashion, well, I don't see that in your work, right? Because those type of individuals don't put the healing and the love into their thoughts, right? You don't say, I'm a loving person. Let me see people, places, and things in a loving way. Right? And that's where our power lies. Because what we feed into ourselves, we mirror out here through the observer effect. We talked about that in previous workshop, right? The observer is out here simply, we can call that God, we can call that you. Reflect your vibration, leverage the energy technology, align your vibration to what you're desiring, and then you get this mirror of reflection. If you're still seeing reflection of distortion, go back inside yourself and feed more. It can be anyone. It can be your boss at work. It can be your kids. It can be your spouse. Go back in your head, in your mind, in your thought, in your creative platform, right? Where you conceive and change it up there, because the mirror out here is not going to change first. And if you can't change it in there because your ego is blocking, your belief system, ideas, or whatever is limiting you, go inside of you and says, I need to work on me, not work on them. Let me work on me, and then go inside and leverage the technology and work on you. Work on healing you, work on balancing you, work on transforming you to the version of you, because that's where your power lies. And then when you look out here, you'll begin to see the reflection of you. Right? And if you don't like the reflection out here, you need to ask yourself, what do I need to do to work on me? Right? And it's not working on oneself is the power we all have. Right? That's part of our creative expression. That's the reason we came in here, to experience this idea of illusion, this idea of physical reality in a sense that is contracted. So we come in here to see what is it like to be limited, but be all powerful within the limitation, and be transformative within the limitation. That is amazing that you were chosen to have that type of experience, because you become the beingness of the all knowingness. And you come in, you express that duality, and you transform from it, because you understand you're so much more than just the limitation. Right? And so all of these things are things that we need to take into consideration when we're leveraging. I had a young lady that called me and said she wants the technology to fix a problem, but she wasn't addressing that the problem is the definition that she holds, right? She wants a quick fix. But what is going to happen, the tenacity and the aggressive nature of wanting that quick fix is the same tenacity and aggressiveness she's going to use to say it doesn't work. Because I hear a lot of people get on social media and say, oh, it doesn't work. But they brought that inside the experience, because they're looking for something to fix a problem, and the problem can only be fixed from within themselves. And they don't want to go within themselves and admit that the problem exists within themselves. And that's the problem. We don't want to face ourselves. But here's the great but. If the kingdom of heaven, as we have come to understand it, is within you, how can you experience the kingdom if you don't go within you? The key is you. The kingdom is within you, and through that, the kingdom projects out here for you to experience. That's why when you see your reality, it's important. That's why I go back to this state, gratitude. I created this, and in gratitude, I'm grateful for what I've created, but it's not what I want. What do I want? I want to have a life where I experience more love, more joy, more happiness, more peace, not more things, right? Because things have, but the joy, the happiness, all those things that we desire, money can be an instrument of it. People can be an instrument of it, right? Places can be an instrument. You can actually move to a place and find joy, happiness there. You can get into a relationship and find joy and happiness there, and so forth. So it is important that we understand that. And so if you're looking for a quick fix, again, there are different workshops for that. If you're saying, Mr. G, just give me something ABC that I can deal with this pain. I can't do that because I'm awakening a lot more than most. A lot of people out here are just following the trend. What is trending? Let me jump on board for what is trending, and then let me sell that because it's trending. I don't follow the trend, right? I tell you as the divine tells me, right? The divine says it begins and ends with you. There's no protocol, nothing I put together. You have to find a way to leverage the technology, right? You have to go inside yourself and actually identify what is it about you that you need to change, not what is out there that needs to change, right? So abundance, success, all those things begin and ends with the vibration of within you. You can't operate in lack inside of you and think you're going to experience the joy, happiness, and abundance. And life is not that way. Those people, a lot of times, who have those abundant, sometimes most of the times are miserable. They're miserable because they're always seeking more. They're miserable because they impact the lives of others in a distorted way, and so forth. And I'll share this last testimony, and I'll have some of you guys jump in. There's a colleague of mine who was having a conversation, and I was told by this colleague that the person said my husband solicit Congress or solicit certain institution in order to push certain drugs or certain distortions into reality, right? And on some level, this person perceived it to be wrong. However, the person who was doing it only perceived it to be a job because the inner work that needs to be done is not there. No one is allowing that person to have that work because they have these things that says I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world. But I have to do when in Rome, do as the Roman does, right? But there's still accountability to that. There's long-term accountability. There's short-term accountability. And I'm asking my family here to take the responsibility of those accountability that's coming. Because when accountability comes, don't deflect it on other people. Don't deflect it as a quick fix for somebody to come and fix because it wasn't your fault. It was your fault. It begins and ends with you. You are amazing. You are perfect. You are greatness on a level that you can't even imagine. Till you leave this physical world, if you're still subjected to it, you will not understand who you are and how powerful, how amazing you are. But at the higher level, there's nothing beyond your imagination that you cannot do. The only thing is you're just locked up. So I want to open up the floor and give anybody the chance because right now I'm walking in gratitude. I'm walking in bliss in the sense where I'm thankful for everything because every day you miss, every day is an opportunity to live, right? And we find ourselves going days, weeks, months, years, and just struggling, just frustrated, just angry. And we miss those days. And then 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you can't get those days back. And now you want those days. I know some wealthy individual billionaires that wish they could have those days back. They tell you that. I wish I can go back and get those days. Can't get them anymore. Be grateful for each and every day. Allow the technology to make the best of the day, at least within yourself, and then be inspired to take the next step forward. So many different technology out here. Go to the website, do the search, feel what is in you, and then let that vibration guide you. I believe energy will guide you just like it did Richard, so much more than myself and anybody else on the physical level. Because within yourself, there's so much power, there's so much greatness. And a lot of us that are energy workers and spiritual healers, we know that power because a lot of times it's not about doing, right? We might lay hands on someone, but it's not about doing. It's that within us that allow us to transform that healing because we go in ourselves, we do a lot of inner work, right? Because that healing comes from within us. Everybody has that potential, but only a few have tapped into that potential. And to whom much is given, when you begin to tap into that potential, much is required. So that's why a lot of times you may be struggling. Push through those struggles. Know that you're here for a purpose. Know that you're that tree that bears the fruit. And that fruit is what others need to transform their lives. And so I want to pause here and give anybody the opportunity to speak and share any ideas or share any thought. Anybody? Hope I didn't overwhelm nobody. That was not my intention. So let me go to some questions. Let's see, because here's what I was talking about. We don't see, we don't hear, we refuse to accept the accountability. I'm hearing, what is the protocol to fix this? What is the protocol to fix that? I need you out there who are, I know those individuals. This is not what we do here. The protocol begins and ends with you. If you begin to vibrate on a certain level, those distortions go away. That's a fact. Energy beget energy, right? And that tracks. If you're leveraging the technology, because if you're looking at, let's say, cancer, last week I shared some ideas about different means and different modality to support. But energy is where everything begins and ends, right? But what energy does, it guides you to those things. It guides you to places, it guides you to people. If you're interested in a particular illness, go to the go to the website, go to the Qi Coil website, and do a search. Leverage those technology and see if it works. If it doesn't work for you, then I need you to come back and say, Mr. G, it didn't work for me. What else? And I will say, let's work on what is happening within you. Let's go inside of you and see what is holding you back. What are those blockages? Maybe start with the chakras. Okay, start running those chakras so your blockages are cleared up. Right? Because a lot of people will now think, oh, let me run some chakras frequency to heal pain issues. But sometimes that's what you need to do because you have those necessary blockages, right? So there's so much more than just let me react to the problem. Go ahead, Vanessa. Go ahead.
It's asking for the website URL.
Okay, I'll go ahead and type that. All right. The website. So, go ahead.
Is there a frequency to help with getting rid of multiple sclerosis?
That frequency, can I answer the question truthfully for you?
Sure.
You can get rid of it.
Yes, I believe
Frequency.
I can.
Okay. Now I believe, I need you to know, you can get rid of it. Frequency can be leveraged to align with your expectation. So what the frequency technology does, it shifts your vibration so that distortion is no longer in alignment, right?
Okay.
So the first thing we need to ask, because remember, I don't know if you were here at the beginning when we started this workshop, Richard and many others, when they came in, I said, let's go back to what could be the distortion, right? And sometimes the emotional blockages from past, the emotional hurt of the attachment to frustration or belief system and ideas, those are the things that are perpetuating it, right? The frequencies can happen like that. But if those blockages and those distortions are still there, those still belief system, then you are sabotaging your healing, right? There's multiple different people that have recovered from that, and that's a fact. I know individual person that I've supported that have transformed from that. However, the work had to be within themselves, and not something we just create a quick fix. Right? So look at go to the frequency website, and I'm gonna give you my email address and I'll send you some things you can look at as well outside the scope of this. But right now, we want to make sure that this begins and ends within you. Start looking at yourself, Vanessa, and say, what is in me that may be distorted, that is reflecting this idea or this distortion in my life? Because it doesn't serve me. And if you begin there, I promise you, you give yourself 90 days, it's gone. Because people, places, and things and the right vibration, everything will begin to align within you will transform. I've seen that 90 days. I've seen people with so many different distortions that say was not incurable transform. But it wasn't just running the frequency because they didn't have the right intention. Once I aligned them with the right intention, the tools, they would call me back and say, have you heard about this tool? I said, no, I haven't. I tried this for the first time. It came into my life, and I think it's a miracle. And then it was introduced to me. And it was because the vibration guided them to it. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Because it was beyond me. Yeah, but it was within them and allowed themselves to shift and let go. And they had to do a lot of work on themselves. Richard is one of our greatest testimonial, as myself and many others here. Richard will tell you, he believes in the vibration, but he also understands it's about working on oneself. It's not working on trying to fix the symptoms, but working on oneself and his lungs, his breathing. Can you imagine breathing has to do with you working on yourself? Well, he is a testimonial of that, right? And he speaks, proudly about this technology, but he also understands we have to guide people in the intention of how to leverage the technology. So I will email me as Jossie at qilifestore.com. Jossie live store, QI store.com. And then I will send you some other tools that could be leveraged.
Q Life Store, right?
Yeah, Josie at QLifestore.com.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
yeah, and this again, it begins and ends with you. So when I share those tools with you, the frequency technology is where you will have long-term efficacy. The website is, my email is posted. Can you also post a website for the frequencies, please? It's
Yeah,
Tony.
I'm doing wonderful. How are you and the family?
Everybody is well. I count my blessings every day. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
Appreciate
I
it.
have I have a question.
Yes.
So I've been running the frequencies and totally forgot that for the last 3 years, play the solfeggio frequencies that I already had, and I play them every night while I'm sleeping, the
Mm-hmm.
whole time I'm sleeping.
Okay.
So when I when I play the Qi Coil, I totally forgot because I couldn't hear it audibly. Totally forgot that that was running, and I was also running the solfeggio frequencies from my phone. Is that a conflict?
No, no,
Okay, I didn't think so because otherwise I think I would have known that I was doing it.
no. There's no conflict. If it happens in that way, it was meant to happen in that way.
Ah,
So yeah,
shame.
and just look at what was the intention behind why you're running the frequency. What was the purpose to run the frequency?
So 3 years ago, I was sitting in my bedroom meditating,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a being that opened a vortex
Mm-hmm.
and stuck his head in, pretty much his upper body. And all he said to me was meditate to the frequency of F.
Mm.
And so ever since then, I've been playing the solfeggio frequency that is equivalent to the key of F.
Got you. Got you. That's
Okay.
huge. That's
He didn't
huge.
say why, and he didn't stay long enough for me to ask to get an
Yeah.
answer. So I was running the whole list of solfeggio frequencies, well,
Yes.
that I couldn't audibly hear, and I was still playing the F frequency all night.
And it's great to, I'm glad you run it while you sleep because, yeah, that's great because when you're running the frequency, you want to read the frequency on two aspects of yourselves, when you're awake and when you are not awake. Because when you are not awake, you are experiencing multidimensional aspect of yourselves, right? And so the
Mhm.
vibration that you bring back, the vibration that you carry, it all is all part of you. So a night when you run that frequency, it synchronizes what is it that you want on the higher level to align with what you have on the lower level, right? And so I always recommend, that's what makes this technology safe, unlike microcurrency and other technology that requires you to be hydrated and also you can only run it for a few minutes. So go to sleep with your technology on, drink some
Mhm.
water if you want at night, that is fine. But let the frequency run so that way you can have consistency. That way you understand what is happening. And a lot of times I can tell, when I'm running frequency and it stops overnight, I can feel the difference in the next day, whether that frequency ran all night. I can feel like it's almost like a force is coming at me. Whereas when I run the frequency, like I have a expansive shield, right? So I really don't see
Yes.
the force really close. So when I don't do it for a couple of days, I can feel the force like almost tighten against me, right? And because the frequency helps me expand and push all those distortions back. And so that's why it's important that we keep that in mind as well.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
I also have something else.
Yes.
Um, about 3 weeks ago ish, 2 to 3, I hurt my hand on the backside near the wrist, and I didn't realize I had hurt it. I had lifted something and twisted my hand, and I remember it happening, but you know how that is. You don't think about it until it swells up.
Yes.
And when it swelled up, I was like, dang, what did I do to my hand? I didn't remember. And then of course I remembered lifting this big, what do you call it? It's like a suitcase for my computer.
Yeah.
Some a roller thing. So that's why I used it, because it was on roller, but I forgot it's heavy and I have to lift it to put it in my car and take it back out.
Yeah.
So when it swelled up, I put the Qi Coil on the back of my hand where it was swollen,
Mhm.
along with a magical formula that somebody from Texas passed on to me.
Okay. We're not gonna say that person's name, but go ahead.
No, we're not going to say your name,
Okay.
but it took the swelling down overnight.
Yes.
And 2 days later, the soreness was all gone because I
There you
kept doing both of those every day and all night, the Qi Coil. I didn't do the Qi Coil all night because I remember what you said, but I did do it while I was meditating, and then I laid it beside me when I
Yeah.
slept.
Good. Excellent.
So,
Excellent. And that's those are the practicum. And listen, the tools that I possess, the gift that I possess, it came by way of this technology. It came by way of me expanding myself, right? And so there's so many different frequencies out there, but you have to find out which one aligns with you for your transformation because we all operate on different vibratory level. And so also one thing to also consider, what piece of the technology do you have? Do you have the mini? Do you have the S? Do you have the aura? They all also interact with you differently as well. The core is meant to be personal. The core is meant to be something that is unconscious as you leverage it, right? When you look at other technology, and I'm very versed in many other technology out there when it comes to energy healing and so forth, right? And that's why I don't talk about technical because I've actually looked at the physics, I've looked at all those different things. I don't care about that. I care about the efficacy of it. If I put it next to me, can it help me? And can I use it and leverage it unconsciously where it doesn't feel like it's work? Because if it feel like it's work, then I'm not going to use it. And if I don't use it out of sight, out of mind, then I blame it didn't work. That is not the case. I want the technology to be able to work for me when I'm not even thinking about it. And so for all those out here, you also have to consider what is technology, how are you going to use the technology? Is it going to be next to your bed? Do you want it further away from you? The more expansive you want it away from you, the more you want to do while operating within that on a vibratory level. That's up to you as well. But if you're sitting and watching TV, the mini works, right? But if you want to say, I would like it in my house, then of course the aura is for you. Energy doesn't give you more than you need. I want everybody to understand that, right? That's not how energy works. It's not like drugs you can overdose on. Right? You take it, whatever is necessary, it does what it's supposed to do. You can pour all the energy that you want. You can sit somewhere and just saturate yourself. It means nothing at the end of the day. The vibration, the definition, all those things is all about how you are operating. So if the energy is unique for you, the energy is with a purpose to transform you with the right intention and whatever you're doing, all of that is going to work in your favor. And then even like myself, sometimes when I leave the technology, I feel inspired. I go into I got a little mini lab. I go into a lab and I begin to look at my naturopathic skill, my homeopathic skill, and I begin to just allow the download to manipulate and so forth. And then I see miracles happening. Right? And it all begins there because I was open to allow myself to be expansive towards transforming the lives of people, including myself. And then sometimes I run the frequency on, even my wife, and she's like, I didn't feel it. And then I said, well, what are your intention? And then I had to work with her to change her intention. And when she changed her intention, she began to feel it. That intention is the key, right? So leverage the technology, leverage the frequency, and just be okay where you are. Don't try to force because now is the only moment of truth right now. You lose now when you're trying to focus on so much what comes next. But if you're just okay with now, then multiple avenues opens up and whatever best serves you will be attracted to you. But if you focus on what you think is next, you may lose sight of what is necessary to support you and open your heart and your mind to all possibility of your transformation. Not just this being an all be all. This is an instrument. This is a tool to guide you, right? It's like a roadmap. Leverage it, right? Use it. I'm encouraging you all to truly leverage the technology, but also be centered. Be okay with where you are. Love yourself. Go in and love the people, places, and things that have allowed you to be who you are. No matter what you perceive it to be positive, negative, change it because no one comes into your life in that manner. People are reactive. Now, I'll say this in closing. I shared this about my brother. My brother told me after he de-animated, I came in to physical reality to be the antagonist to help you awaken. That stuck with me. That there are people in your life that came here to help you grow and expand. And that growth and expand can sometimes be painful. But allow that to be a lesson. Allow that to be a tool of transformation. Allow yourself to go through the metamorphosis and now wait for someone to break you free. Yourself and your inner beingness to have enough strength and persevere and grit to break through. If you do that, you will get your best life. You will have the best version of you experiencing the reality that you desire because it begins and ends with you. I love you guys. I always appreciate you guys. I'm always praying and blessing all of you out there, blessing the world. And I ask you to do the same with me on this journey. Let's help heal our community, heal our family, especially our Qi Life family. You guys be blessed.